From a human perspective, the story of the flood during the time of Noah in the early days of humanity is a perplexing chapter in history that leaves many puzzled and struggling to comprehend the cause. And events that led to such a drastic end of all living things on the earth at that time, as we have read and heard, the Bible provides limited insight into the circumstances and reasons that led to God Almighty's decision to eradicate all living beings from the earth and start life anew. The true reasons behind this event remain beyond human understanding, known only to God Almighty. However, in this video, we will explore the primary reason for God's decision to flood the world during Noah's time, ultimately saving him and his family to initiate a fresh beginning on earth. Also, we shall take you through the whole scene of the story and how it unfolded, and finally, how the flood in Noah's time could be related to the present time we currently live. So, let's begin to explore the story. In the ancient days, when the earth was young, and as humanity began to multiply and flourish and filled the land, the descendants of Adam multiplied, and with each generation the beauty of the world blossomed. As the sun rose and set upon the earth, the sons of God descended from the heavens, captivated by the beauty of the daughters of men. The sons of God, beings of divine origin, began to notice the beauty of the mortal daughters of men. These daughters carried a grace and allure that captivated the hearts of the celestial beings. Their forms and gentle spirits drew the attention of these celestial beings who were not immune to the allure of earthly love. The allure was intoxicating, like a forbidden fruit from a garden they were never meant to eat. In this time of mingling, the lines between the divine and the mortal began to blur. The sons of God, once guardians of the heavens, found themselves entranced by the warmth of human hearts. They took wives from among the daughters of men, forging unions that sparked both wonder and concern. As these celestial beings intertwined their fates with those of humanity, a new lineage was born, one that bridged the gap between heaven and earth. But with each union, the balance of the world began to shift. Wisdom and strength joined together, but so too did ambition and strife. The offspring of these unions were mighty, yet their existence brought forth a tension that echoed through the ages. This kind of unusual union that wasn't orchestrated by God or ordained according to his divine will sparked the event that led to the destruction of the once beautiful world God created, which was stated in Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 to 8. It read as follows: "Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing and birds of the air. For I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. The harmony that had once existed was now marred by division and strife. The choice of the sons of God to descend had been theirs, but the consequences belonged to all of creation. Ultimately, this union between the sons of God and the daughters of men brought about a great calamity. So, the flood that cleansed the earth of sin and corruption was partly a result of the intermingling of heavenly and earthly beings. The consequences of their actions reverberated through the ages, reminding the divine beings who has the ability to take on human forms, from trespassing heavenly boundary into human domains, tampering with the order God didn't approve from the beginning. For that reason, the New Testament writers in 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4 also wrote of angels that had fallen from holiness having sinned. It says, God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them down to the abyss in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. So, the story of the Nephilim is situated within the broader narrative of the Great Flood. The union of the sons of God with the daughters of men is presented as a significant act of defiance against God's order, and one of the contributing factors to humanity's moral decline. The Lord, seeing the wickedness of mankind, felt sorry for creating them, and decides to destroy the earth with a flood. However, God Almighty finds one righteous man called Noah, and he instructs him to build an ark to save himself, his family, and pairs of every animal species. For the Nephilim are the offspring of the Watchers mating with humans. Nephilim means giant, so they called them giant beings because they were like half human, half angel, according to ancient documentation about them. They seem to have started well as mighty men or heroes, what we would think of today as superheroes, but they went bad, really bad. The Bible in Genesis 6 does not give much detail about the history of the giants, but more detail about them is provided in the book of Enoch, which suggests that the corruption of the Nephilim of the whole world led to the Great Flood. The Creator's original plans on account of creation was perfectly cleared in the Bible after God created Adam and Eve and placed them in the Garden of Eden. Genesis 1 verse 28 says, "Then God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So, it is evident from this Bible passage that God's intention for humanity is to reproduce after its own kind, which is why he formed Eve for Adam and established a sacred union between them as husband and wife. So, humans are meant to bring forth other humans. However, when angels took on human forms and engaged with the daughters of men, it is violation of God's settings. They acted against the natural order and defied God's original design and purpose. This act is deemed wicked in the sight of God. Consequently, those angels who disrupted God's divine plan were bound in chains and confined to the abyss until the day of judgment. This explains and justifies the severe actions and judgment from God that led to the flood during Noah's time. So now, let's dive into the full story, how the whole event unfolded. This is the account of the flood, a tale of faith and renewal.